request Government of Nepal to take the seat. And similarly to Mr. Ali Ahmed, Chief Executive Officer of Bangladesh Foreign Trade Institute, and Mr. Shyam, Research and Development Director, AIDIA, Asian Institute of Diplomacy and International Affairs.
Is for improving bilateral relations as well as cooperation among the two countries. And before starting, I'd like to express my sincere thanks for hosting this program and for giving me an opportunity to chair this session. So before starting, I'd like to make a small remark. So Your Excellency, the Ambassador from Bangladesh to Nepal, distinguished delegates from different agencies, media people, and distinguished participants. First of all, I'd like to thank you all for joining this session. We have, as given this paper, we have two persons who could not join the session. So I'd like to beg an apology from our session as a chair. So Mr. Acharya, former Foreign Secretary and permanent representative of Nepal to the United Nations, maybe because of some of his busy schedules, he could not join it. And also Mr. Lakshman Basnet, Executive Director of NITDB, Nepal Intermodal Transport Development Board. So with that, I think the session is going to be a short one as compared to the previous one because of the less number of people. And before I start this session, I'd like to request keynote speaker, Mr. Ali Ahmed, CEO, Bangladesh Foreign Trade Institute, to deliver his keynote speech. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, Mr. Chair. Honorable Advisor to the Honorable Prime Minister of Bangladesh, the chief guest of today's session, and our very highly respected and beloved Ambassador of Bangladesh to Nepal, who has made Bangladesh proud, made us proud by her activities, and my fellow colleagues from Bangladesh as well as from Nepal, some of whom I have the privilege of knowing from before. In fact, as they were mentioning in the first session, that the first session was held in 1916. It was a crisis situation for Nepal at the time, and our ambassador sent me a letter through mail, and I responded and came here, and I was exhilarated by seeing the way it was all done, and I found exhilaration, satisfaction, and also determination to go forward. But then, going forward doesn't mean running back or running in front without any destination. So I must thank our Excellency, the Ambassador, and other organizers with her, who have very wisely named it this Beyond Bilateralism. The paper, the title that I was sent to my office by her office was named Expanding Bangladesh-Nepal Power, Connectivity, Fast-Tracking, then Fast-Tracking Infrastructure from rail, road to seaport. I have kept that in mind while preparing the paper. In fact, I was very intently listening to what has been going on, what has been getting deliberated here on this podium before in the first session. Most of the discussants talked, and it came out that bilateralism we have tried, we have seen, but it doesn't work, especially with countries not having contiguous borders like Bangladesh and Nepal. So what we need to do, we have, as my friend Purushottam Oja has mentioned, that we arrived at an agreement in 1976, 2 years before the same agreement was arrived at between Nepal and India. And then protocol was also signed, but rules are in the making. it must have gone to the freezing room. It is not coming out. Why? Because in the very interesting and intriguing political, geographical situation that we have in this subcontinent, having the best of friendships and the best possible intention between Nepal and Bangladesh, we can never succeed without very active cooperation from our friendly country, India. So that is why we have got to go beyond bilateralism. And the BBI and MBA was a very intelligent move. It's a very good move, and it was interestingly agreed to by all concerned, forgetting that the historical baggage that Pakistan and India carries, it's too heavy for the SAARC, and so we thought we should go for this BBI and MBA, but Bhutan, unfortunately for us, but maybe they have their reasons, forgetting their environment and all those things, withdrew. But with India, Nepal and Bangladesh, we can achieve wonders. We are ready. In Bangladesh, we are ready or getting ready. In the next few years, we would be ready to take your trains, if we have the connectivity, that is, or your trucks from here right up to Mangalore by railways. And it has been estimated in different forums that carriage by trains cost about 50% less than by roads. So trains would be good. But what we need to do is, we have some stretch of roads connecting that chicken neck. That is a very interesting name. That Siliguri access going from West Bengal to the northeastern west of India. It's about 22 kilometers, but that is Indian territory. And without Indian cooperation, very active cooperation and participation, we cannot activate our road connectivity or we cannot build our railways. India, very fortunately, has the foresight to have come forward, forgetting the past feelings that some of the governments sometimes in some of our countries had. Now we are in a mood to cooperate. Now there are some feelings in all these countries, I presume, I know in Bangladesh, but I presume also in Nepal, that if we connect, if we can easily come and go, perhaps our revenues will fall, perhaps our sovereignty will be lost, perhaps our trade will fall. No. I am a student of economics. As a very humble student of economics, I put it with all humility that the more connectivity you have, the lower rate of tariff you have, the higher goes your economy and you develop faster. I remember as a first secretary then in the National Board of Revenue, we were visiting Delhi. They were having very high tariff rates when Honorable Manmohan Singh was the finance minister and Mr. Dr. Ahluwalia was the finance secretary. We met them and they were amazed by seeing our VAT Act. We just enacted it and they said we will do something, and they reduced, and you see the phenomenal growth of India that is coming up. And if you, I'm sure this is a very august audience, very erudite, very informed and very well educated. So you know the economic history of Europe, you know the economic history of this ASEAN countries, which has been mentioned a few times. The more you integrate, the more you reduce your tariff rates, and the better you make it easier, the non-tariff barriers and the tariff barriers, the more of trade, the more your countries grow. Very old-fashioned economic theories is that protectionism, they say, we read, in the 60s we read that you import substitution. You raise a tariff wall and let your inefficient industries grow, but it doesn't grow. You have to slash down the tariff wall and the countries will grow. Your country will grow, Bangladesh will grow, India will grow. It is a, as the ex-ADB gentleman was saying, Mr. Lohani, Dr. Lohani, that it is a win-win-win situation. So for us, it will be a win-win-win situation for Bangladesh, India, and Nepal. So please, we are only talking. Someone was telling me, you talk often in seminars and others. Does it do any job? But yes, it does. The people talking also makes an impact on those who listen. And among listeners, there are very important policymakers like the present advisor, for example. They know they can create an impact, and others are there and from this country as well. So let us connect and connect to railways, to roadways, and all round we are connecting. Bangladesh is getting ready. We can give you, we'll show you. I'm not sure how much time I would get, but we can give you the time when we are going to complete all this thing. So we request our friend, India is ready. They have said so in writing, also in discussions bilaterally with Bangladesh and also multilaterally. So let us build the railway connection, let us build the road connection so that trucks and railway wagons can ply from Port of Mongla to from Port of Chittagong right up to Kathmandu and all that. It will, believe me, I can stand guarantee if it is of any value. Believe me, your country will be economically more benefited, will be developed. So will Bangladesh, so will India. It will be good for all of us. With these few words, I go to the formal thing. The first is, I was taught to behave this, yeah. So I must begin with all humility to accept the commendations and the praises showered on Bangladesh by the distinguished scholars, saying that we have been doing a lot of things. But please mark here, you see, while the poverty rate in Bangladesh is 23.5%, but in Nepal it is 21.6%. So you are ahead of us in this. And then think of your economic growth. Our economic growth has been phenomenal, yes, for the last near 1 decade and a half. But last year's economic growth for Bangladesh was 7.2%, whereas Nepal's growth was 7.5%. It grew faster than Bangladesh. So there are reasons that you should take heart and start anew. And please start connecting yourselves with the rest of the subcontinent as far as it is possible. I am leaving out Pakistan, Afghanistan because of the location, and Pakistan because of the historical baggage they unfortunately carry for the rest of us. So with these few words, let's go to the next page. This is some economic indicators. It shows the size. And if we come to the remittance, well, Bangladesh's remittance earning is 12.76, while Nepal's is 76.6. It's nearly half, but population is less than 1/3. So your earning is far more proportionately higher than Bangladesh's. So why say you are lagging? You are not lagging. Your people are working hard, good and well. Take heart and start afresh and start together. This has a technical. Yeah. Bangladesh and Nepal maintain excellent historic, political and cultural relations. I will be sweeping through this. Bangladesh is the 8th country, Nepal is the 8th country in the world to have recognized Bangladesh. Then Bangladesh and Nepal also maintain a very good trade relation. Though both the countries are still LDCs, they are growing very rapidly and are expected to graduate out of the LDC status. The first review for Bangladesh will be done this March, next month. And we have fulfilled all the 3 requirements, so we will be considered a developing country, but there are formalities. It will be done every 3 years. The next review will come in 21, and if we pass, which we will, the final review in 2024, when we will be officially declared a non-LDC, that is a developing country. Nepal will also soon come up with us, I'm sure. The Bangladesh and Nepal have many potentials in trade and many other economic areas. However, most of the potentials still remain unexplored due to various reasons. I'll go a little bit into these various reasons later, but first of all, let us see the scenario in graph. I'm sorry, I'm afraid I have to sweep through. It shows the import and export of these 2 countries, Bangladesh's exports to Nepal and imports from Nepal, and the total trade volume of the 2 countries. If the authorities want, they can give you printouts later, but I cannot stay here for very long. Then bilateral trade. I'm going to the next slide with your kind permission. I know it is being too fast. Bangladesh, from the graph, we can see that bilateral trade volume is not much. only $57.16 million in the last fiscal year 2016-17 between these two countries, which has been variously described as 0.30 or 0.50% of the total trade of Nepal. So there's a lot of scope. This trade volume is certainly low compared to the potentials. Moreover, there is no steady growth pattern, many ups and downs in trade volumes. If you look at the graph, I go back, you see it is not steadily going up or going down. It went up once in 2008-9 and then it went down, and now it is steady at a lower level. So there are reasons that we should look into it and we should go next. I have finished that. Imports and exports from both these sides are also concentrated around a few products. What we take only lentils, and you used to take only jute products and fruit juice, but I'm not sure would I be giving too much of credit to our Excellency the Ambassador. Due to our untiring efforts, our imports have increased in number and in monetary terms, and I'm sure you will be doing the same thing, because we want Nepal to come up with us together. We do not want to leave Nepal behind. The major exportable products from Bangladesh are very low, and as well as in your cases, as we have just seen. Why? There are many reasons, constraints for such a low level of trade between the two neighboring countries. Major constraints are low level of complementarity. The students of economics, or even the common students nowadays know complementary product is, for example, say you produce yarn, cotton, then India produces yarn, theoretically speaking, Bangladesh produces garments, and some other, Bhutan produces packaging. So complementing to each other. These sort of things do not exist much between us or amongst us in these countries. Then mismatch of supply and demand. Say we have a lot of supplies of garments, you don't have much of demand for that, or vice versa. Then both economies are greatly dependent on a very strong neighboring economies. That is a historical reality accentuated in the recent decades after independence, that we, both of us, are flanked, we are flanked by two giant economies, India and China. They affect our business also, sometimes favorably, but very often unfavorably for us. Then we have tariffs and non-tariff barriers between these two countries. These can be solved and must be solved. I meet also the foreign secretaries and others, and our foreign secretaries and others coming here, talking, and then we have a dinner, and they come, but the tariff barriers and non-tariff barriers remain. Please talk it out, and talk it out of existence if you want to. We can do that. It has been possible in the case of ASEAN countries. They are now going to form an economic union. I think you will understand what economic union is. There will be no internal borders. Not politically speaking, economically speaking, financially speaking. There will be no, we can do that. Let us at least start with removing these tariff and non-tariff barriers. We can do that, I am sure. Then insufficient connectivity in all its forms. We have talked about that first. If I want to send something from Kathmandu to Dhaka, or Khulna, or from Mongla Port to Kathmandu, Bangladesh side is now ready. The railway is also reaching Mongla in a short while, by next year or so. But Kathmandu side, from here to the Bangladesh border, is not ready. So please talk it not just with Bangladesh, but at least among these three countries, India, Bangladesh and Nepal, beyond bilateralism, as it has been very aptly named, beyond bilateralism. We have seen bilateralism, not got much of good results. And then, but the most important, it has been written again, but the most important of all these constraints is the absence of good connectivity between the two countries. And we can do that if we go beyond bilateralism and discuss trilaterally along with India. I'm sorry, this is I'm not much of a tech-savvy person, and then it has been placed there. I haven't given this thing. Less connected. Nepal is a landlocked country. We all know that, and does not have access to any country, including Bangladesh, through seas or oceans. Normally, naturally, we don't have the connection. In addition, though Bangladesh and Nepal are geographically very close to each other, there is no common border between them. Borders of the two countries are separated by a small stretch of land, popularly known as Siliguri Corridor or the Chicken Neck, as I have talked about it before. Currently, though Nepalese trucks can travel up to Bangladesh-India border and enter Banglavantha land port in Bangladesh, they cannot travel through the Bangladesh territory. So there's a point in this. This agreement was reached in 1976. Now that India is agreeable through the India, Bangladesh, Nepal, Bhutan motor vehicle agreement, please put it in practice. All of us, I urge upon all the two governments, India is there, all the two governments to please put it in practice as soon as you may. All these ground realities made the two countries a bit less connected. I have written it personally, a bit less connected. It's completely disconnected, so to say. I show you just the condition, the Nepal-Bangladesh geographic location. We can see where we are. A very small chicken neck, as we have called it, but no connectivity now. India, for many years, didn't have the willingness to allow the connectivity, but now they are agreeable and they are also eager to do it. Now Nepal and Bangladesh should get over with its sluggishness and start doing it. I urge upon both the countries. I talk on continue with the connectivity. So connectivity is very crucial for bilateral trade between Bangladesh and Nepal, as well as for third country trade of Nepal, other than with India, of course. Means if you want to export to some countries other than Bangladesh, India, you can go through the seas, through our two ports now existing, another one is coming up. So you can connect and you can send it to any country in the world you like. So you need connectivity. You can import, you can export to other countries. Why only to Bangladesh or to India or to Bhutan? Export to other countries, import from other countries, wherever you get it more competitive. And you need connectivity for that. There are many initiatives and agreements for establishing bilateral and regional connectivity. The first one has been talked about. I talked about it. The protocol also has been signed. That the 6 points are made for this. 6 places have been designated as entry-exit points for the movement of traffic in transit, using any means of transport for third country state of Nepal. I'm naming the places. Mongla and Chittagong ports, coming the next one. Mongla and Chittagong ports, then Bangladesh-Indian borders at Birol, Chilahati, Benapur and Banglavantha. I have one personal experience. I remember I was a very junior officer in Chittagong port area in the customs there. I was a government officer then. I remember 2 trucks getting ready for coming to Nepal and it's being sealed by customs there. Believe me, we were so overjoyed. Truck loads of goods are going to Nepal from Chittagong. But then that pleasure and elation unfortunately was short-lived when I learned that when it reached Banglavantha, it took days and days and days to cross the border, because India was not very eager about it. But now that is over. However, why Bangladesh should give you, why should we give you transit? It's not a kindness. It is not a kindness of Bangladesh. We are bound by international treaties. Bangladesh is always ready to provide transit facilities to Nepal, a landlocked country, as per. Landlocked countries have some things. In the GATT Article 5, freedom of transit, we are bound to give you. India is bound to give you by law. Then, trade facilitation agreement of the WTO, which both of us have signed and we are working on it. So that is also one of the reasons why we should give you trade facility. transit. And then other international rules, there are WTO rules and other things. Well, you know, one can talk about hours on any of these issues, but we are sweeping through this. Then Bangladesh has also announced 50%, it has been talked about here before me, and I also talked at the beginning, a 50% discount on port charges if Nepalese cargoes go through that port or come through that port. I think that is a good concession. Why shouldn't you avail yourselves of this? Then a fully placed land port has been developed. Initially it was not so. Now Bangla is a fully placed land port. Please utilize that. Bangladesh has also improved railway connectivity through Rohanpur Singhabad route. It was said in the first session that it's not ready. It is ready. Rohanpur to Khulna railway track is already in operation. Rohanpur to Khulna is already in operation. Then Khulna to Mongla, there's a river, you know, Rupsha river especially. This has been breezed over already. Khulna Mongla broad gauge railway is under construction. It will take only, it is also said here, it is expected to be completed by 2018. We are now in 2018, so it is expected to be completed this year. This project will facilitate transportation of container and bulk cargo from Mongla port to Nepal through Mongla, Khulna, Rohanpur, Singhabad railroad. So we are ready. Please get ready on your side. Sorry, I forget. Then it may be mentioned that Rohanpur has been declared as an LCS, that is Land Customs Station, and it is now in operation. Various studies reveal, I have told of it before, it may be noted that transportation cost is almost 50% less through railway compared with that through land routes, that means trucks and other. In addition, in order to cater to the growing demands of trade, Bangladesh has been developing or improving overall transport system as well as various ports of the country, implementing mega projects like the Padma Bridge, upgradation of Dhaka-Chittagong Highway, and implementing recently adopted WTO trade facilitation agreement. We are working very fast on this. I also mentioned that UNSCAP has framed a framework paperless trade agreement. Bangladesh is the first signatory. From our Bangladesh Foreign Trade Institute, we initiated, we brought them in, we convinced our ministry, and our ministry was the first one among the SCAP countries to have signed it. And then we contacted the DFID, and we are now in negotiations. We will be running a research project on this from the Bangladesh Foreign Trade Institute. So we are progressing. Please, you may sign also. Signing does not mean immediately making it paperless. It is said in the Act itself, a framework agreement, that develop LDCs can take up to 2 decades to prepare, so you have enough time. You can sign and be a party to this. You will get help from the developed country partners. China, for example, is eager to help. We cannot take this because we are already committed to DFID. You can try and you can get it immediately. All these initiatives will also help movement of Nepalese cargo. Though Bangladesh, through Bangladesh for third country trade, as I have already said, the ground reality, however, is that sometimes implementation of bilateral initiatives become difficult or even impossible without involving regional partners. For example, Bangladesh and Nepal arrived at an agreement, very good one, in 1976, could not put it into implementation because India was not there. So India is there now. Let's now take this opportunity. We have the wind. Before the headwind comes, let us run, let us run. In this backdrop, various regional initiatives have been taken. One of such initiatives is BBIN. We know, all of us here know the BBIN story. Bhutan has for some time withdrawn from it, not really withdrawn, decided not to go along, but it has said, it's a quadrilateral agreement. They have said, well, you India, Bangladesh, Nepal, please go ahead. I'm not out of it, but I'm not joining at the moment, so we can go ahead. I wish that Nepal remains steadily and firmly in favor of implementing this BBIN. Through this, we can make more connectivity and enrich all the three countries. This is what history of economic development all over the world says, that more you are connected, the better, the richer you get as a country. Under this initiative, the BBIN Motor Vehicle Agreement, we all know this. Then the main objective of the BBIN MBA is to make a transfer of goods, passengers and vehicles across the BBIN region more smooth and convenient. The agreement will allow vehicles to enter each other's territory without transshipment of goods from one country's truck to that of another at the border. Moreover, BBIN will allow multimodal connectivity across 4 countries, that is, trucks, trains, buses. It will be allowed seamless. Let us not be afraid. When I first went to Europe and saw these things in 1984, I was surprised to see that the trucks of one country crosses another bus just by showing a paper, and the man there said, okay, go ahead. I said, how do they manage? And none of them has become poorer over these decades. No, they have become richer. Moreover, BBIN will allow multimodal connectivity across our 4 countries. Under the BBIN MBA, 30 transport corridors will be transformed into economic corridors. It has already been identified. This can be economic lifeline for the entire region. BBIN MBA is expected to increase inter-regional trade in South Asia by nearly 60%. In South Asia, the regional trade will, this is one of the least connected regions in the world. So our trade with this connectivity can increase up to 60%, and international trade of the region can also increase up to 30%. Since the BBIN is more comprehensive and involves all the relevant countries, it will be more suitable and feasible. The BBIN initiative will be able to capture more areas of cooperation and integration among the parties. Both Bangladesh and Nepal will be benefited from the BBIN, even if it is implemented by the 3 countries initially, as Bhutan is currently not in a position to ratify the BBIN MPA. Another important sub-regional initiative is the SASEC, South Asia Sub-Regional Economic Cooperation, established in 2001. Member countries are Bangladesh, Bhutan, Nepal, India, Maldives, Myanmar, Nepal and Sri Lanka. I remember my friend Purushottam Oja mentioning that with the current political situation between Myanmar and Bangladesh, this may not be feasible. I only wish you read the newspapers of Bangladesh and Myanmar. We are having regular exchange of visits of ministers, of other dignitaries, and we held our guns, so to say, in English, not literally the guns. We at no point call names of the Myanmarese people because we look 50, 100 years ahead of us. We thought it would be a folly to start a quarrel or a fight or a war. Let us discuss, and we are discussing. The other day, the Home Minister of Myanmar came, and they have already taken some people and will continue to take. India is helping build some of the houses of the repatriable people there, and China has told, I'm not the foreign minister or the foreign secretary, so I cannot quote, but I know that China has said, please don't quarrel, we can get your problem solved. And India and China gave us that assurance. So we don't have any bad relation with Myanmar. Only Myanmar has to shake off its old military mentality and come up as politicians, come up as civilian government, and only then can we solve these problems. But it is progressing. We are very patient, very, very patient about housing and taking care of 1 million people is not very easy, especially for a poor country like Bangladesh. It's not very rigid. So we are doing it because we look forward to greater integration of the region, including Myanmar. Then The objective of SASEC, we know, is improving cross-border connectivity, boosting trade among member countries, strengthening, have I gone there? Then strengthening regional economic cooperation. Since 2001, SASEC countries have implemented, yes, SASEC, as we have heard, this SASEC road, please remember. So since 2001, SASEC countries have implemented 47 regional projects in the energy, transport, trade facilitation, economic corridor development, and information and communications technology, that is ICT sector. Then Bangladesh and Nepal can be more integrated or connected through better utilization of the SASEC projects. Then tailor-made projects may also be taken under the SASEC umbrella for improving connectivity between the two countries. There can be one project between Bangladesh and Nepal through India if necessary. Why not? India is agreeable nowadays. I'm sorry, it's taking some time. Bangladesh, now the power connectivity, one of the major areas where we can really start work tomorrow, if you want. Bangladesh is a very rapidly growing economy, as Nepal is. Bangladesh is set to become a developing country by 2024, I have already said that, and is putting her sights to become a developed country by 2041. Our Honorable Advisor has talked about it. Then Bangladesh has also been implementing SDGs, with the experience of a good record in implementing the MDGs. I am not required to explain these things. Millennium Development Goal and then. Attaining all these goals calls for uninterrupted supply of all kinds of production inputs, including energy. Government of Bangladesh has taken various steps for power generation. At present, total installed capacity, Bangladesh's total installed capacity is 16,040 megawatt. A nuclear power station, the very first of its kind, is also under construction, which will add significantly to the power capacity of Bangladesh. However, demand for power is increasing day by day, and according to the power sector master plan of Bangladesh, the country will require about 34,000 megawatt of electricity by 2030. Bangladesh has been exploring all kinds of options, including import of power from the neighboring countries. Bangladesh is already importing power from India. First it started with 500 megawatt, now another 500, so we are now importing about 1,000 megawatt power from India uninterrupted. Nepal has a huge potential in hydropower. According to the National Hydropower Association, Nepal's hydropower potential has been estimated to be around 84,000 megawatt, of which 43,000 megawatt has been identified as economically viable. 43,000 megawatt, and your present production capacity, if I am not mistaken, and if the papers are right, then it is now only 753 megawatt. Might have increased by now. So you have a huge potential here. What you can do is, I know hydroelectric power takes an lot of initial investment is very high, but once we start producing, it is cheaper and it is continuous and it is renewable. If the mountain doesn't sink, if the that is, and then we also do not exist and we do not need power. So please go for, our Honorable Prime Minister has made an offer. Let us go for giant collaboration. Let us take India. Let us take Bangladesh. Let Nepal be here. All three. If need be, let us take others. Then start exploiting this. This will improve the regional power shortage, will be taken care of, and Nepal will not give us free, and we do not want it free. It will be a great export of Nepal to India and Bangladesh. That is how you can reverse your balance of trade position with Bangladesh. You can, by this only, you can become a developing country. but you need the political will. Our honorable advisor mentioned, I am not a politician, I am not supposed to talk of that, but your political will is now very favorable. I am not taking sides. Some party has lost here, I am not against them. Some parties have won, I am not in favor of them. But political will for Nepal is really favorable. It's the time for it to walk and to run and to oar and to sail faster. Use this time. We foresee quite a few years of political stability. Please use that. Then tourism, another thing, it has been mentioned. I think you also mentioned and others. Tourism, we always talk of tourism, what we have written here. We know the world's highest peak where? In Nepal, in this region, Mount Everest. In the early 80s, when I was in Europe, I saw they are all getting ready. Where would you go? I'd go to Nepal. Why? To see the Everest. And when I got my first chance, I also saw the Everest. Of course, not by climbing like our girl Nazreen. I went with a small plane with my children and we saw the Everest. This is a world attraction. And we have as one of my colleagues said before, we have the largest mangrove in the world, the Sundarbans, and the longest unbroken sea beach, Cox's Bazar. So if we connect these three things together, there can be a good bilateral tourist package that we can sell to the rest of the world. So let the tour operators of these two countries, even if you want to include India, do it. But these two countries can do a lot of tourism works together. There are many examples in the world, sub-regions in the sub-regions promoting this. I only go through it. European Union, Mekong region, Baltic regional cooperation are the best examples of these tour operators getting together to improve their total and regional tourism. And why should they come? The cultural diversity of the South Asian region is unique. When we combine the scenic landscapes, natural beauty, and ethnic multiplicity of this region, it becomes an unparalleled common tourist destination of the world. It is widely known that South Asian region is the home to all the major religions of the world. This region is proud of possessing the world's highest peak, the Mount Everest, as I have already said. We have the world's largest mangrove forest, the Sundarbans, the world's longest unbroken sea beach, the Cox's Bazar. So we can make best use of our natural resources by operating or arranging joint initiatives in the field of tourism sector. I think the two ministries of these two countries can start and then our tour operators will come. The last slide, I'm sorry, thank you for having borne with me for so long. The conclusion. Conclusion is always a welcome thing, you know. You know that you are. In fact, the main spirit of the global, regional and bilateral integration is to make best use of the resources available in various countries. Connectivity is one of the most important tools for doing it effectively and efficiently. Connectivity not only help in utilizing, I am against this spelling, it should be S in the British way, help in utilizing resources efficiently, but also attract investment from both local and foreign sources. The South Asia in general and Bangladesh and Nepal in particular have many resources, many potentials and still remain unexplored. We can make best use of those resources by establishing appropriate connectivity in various areas so that our individual resources can complement each other's resources. Then I say a big thank you for bearing with me for so long. Thank you very much. The pleasure of presentation is gone. Previously we used to talk to people, look at their eyes, get eye contact and read their reactions. Now we only read out on things we wrote on our laptop. So the pleasure of talking to people is gone. But I believe you will forgive this this intervention or this intrusion of the modern technology. Thank you very much. I'm sorry, I've taken a little.
But anyway, thank you very much, Mr. Ahmed, CEO from Bangladesh Foreign Trade Institute. The presentation was very interesting and comprehensive, highlighting many aspects of the importance of connectivity. In fact, if I have to answer about any economic development, my first choice would be connectivity, as everyone knows. Without connectivity, nothing can be done. So connectivity is a very key element, in fact, that plays a very vital role for any economic development, economic dynamism rather I should say. So with that, you highlighted many aspects about the importance of connectivity, and there are many forums where we, neighboring countries Bangladesh and Nepal, are participating in many forums for the development of connectivity like the BIMSTEC, BBIN, and these days BBIN has played a very important role in bringing together all the key personnel of both the countries to discuss how to improve connectivity, among people to people, connectivity for trades and things like that. So with that, I think without wasting much of our time, since we are a bit lagging from the very beginning, so I'd like to request Mr. Shyam KC, Research and Development Director, AIDIA, for his deliberations about the topic. This is fast tracking infrastructure from rail, road to seaport. So though I am from rail related projects in Nepal, taking a leading role in the Department of Railways in Nepal, so I am very much interested after listening some of the projects that are, I don't know about the connectivity of Bangladesh. I don't know whether it is well connected to Bangladesh or not. And hopefully, we have many projects that are running through the government of India's grant assistance. So, in 2010, during our President's first visit to India, we have an MOU signed between India and Nepal for the cross-border connectivity at 5 different locations along the international border. So some of the projects have already gone into construction phase and some are yet to be started. And hopefully we have also, after a series of discussions, we have finally come to a conclusion, come to an agreement to go for the rest of the connectivity projects that are 3 still yet to be started. So those projects also, in the near future, we have formed a joint committee for the field level survey, and hopefully in the future, in the days ahead, the projects will be materialized and they will enter for the construction phase. And at the same time, the government of Nepal also, after realizing the fact of the importance of railway projects in Nepal, have established a dedicated department, but it is not very old. We are a very recently established organization, and we are doing, though it is at a snail's pace, we are working in the right direction. And also, we are carrying out some of the, after completing the feasibility study of the east to west electrified railway, we have carried out some of the sections to prepare the DPR with some of the international companies, like Korean companies so far have done almost 500 kilometers of the east-west rail link. and some 400 kilometers are still going on. Hopefully, by the end of 2018, we'll be having on our hand all the reports of the DPRs, and then we'll be able to negotiate or discuss or with donor or development partners for seeking help to go for construction of this east-west. And also regarding the east-west connectivity, we have one connectivity project, cross-border connectivity project with India, as the former speaker, keynote speaker, correctly mentioned about the Siliguri corridor. So we have one connectivity slightly away from Siliguri, that is called Jalpaiguri, also very close to Bangladesh. I think maybe within 10 kilometers of the international boundary with India. So if we can connect that from Jalpaiguri, we have that project in our list. Out of 5, one is Jalpaiguri to Kakrabita, the eastern border of Nepal and India. And if the Bangladesh or Bangla, if some kind of railway link, especially broad gauge nowadays, if it is connected by broad gauge railways, and if we can connect it further to Jalpaiguri, that will be a very great rail link for us to enter into the seaport through India and Bangladesh. So I think, I don't know about the Khulna or Mangla port, the depth of the draft depth. But Chittagong is, I think, a very big port and has good depth.
We're also going to get a deep sea port in
Para, yeah, recently I have heard about that also. So if we can make this kind of railway connectivity with our bordering or neighboring countries, India, it will be an immense breakthrough for our link to seaport through Bangladesh. So with that, I'd like to request Mr. Shyam Kesi, the member of the panel, to deliver his speech. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, I'm truly delighted to share this platform with the very distinguished panelist who has very intense experience and expertise on their field. Though I do have some white hair in my hair, I'll just try to adjust somewhere with their intellectual height. I think we talk about the connectivity is kind of sine qua non for the economic integrations or regional integrations. I want to focus on the geopolitical side of the connectivity. Oftentimes, what do you see while we are talking about the economic integrations or connectivity, then geopolitics comes into play. It is almost intensely entangled in between the geopolitics and geoeconomics. I just remember some quote from the former Secretary of India, Foreign Secretary of India, Acharya. Once he said somewhere that, quote, connectivity is emerged as the contemporary theater of geopolitics. I stress again, theater of geopolitics. That means something like that. So we also need to think from that perspective, because while we're talking about, I think Abindu sir intensely focused on economic cooperations and all those stuff, but at the same time, we cannot separate economics from politics. Without unlocking the kind of connectivity conundrum, what we are talking about, the economic integrations would remain unexploited. Having said that, let me just provide some of the ideas about the ongoing connectivity conundrum in international scenario. We all know that China-led BRI, Belt and Road Initiative project, is investing more or less 50 billion plus US dollar in Kuala Port. There is some kind of sovereignty concerns related to the India, but at the meantime, it also allows China the kind of strategic significance by surpassing the Indian oceans at the time of international crisis. Similarly, India is also investing in the investing in the charter port of the Iran. They have almost agreed to invest in their first phase around 200 million plus US dollars. That gives the kind of geostrategic significance of India that can circumvent the Pakistan to enter to the Afghanistan. What I'm go into much more deeper questions about the economic integrations. Having said that, I'm really optimistic about the integrations process between the Nepal, Bangladesh, and India. We know that the failure of the motor vehicle, like the failure of the BBM motor vehicle, like oftentimes what we see in the process of international integration is that we try to take enormous amount of countries at the same time to the board and try to reach some kind of try to reach out some kind of logical end. So I think when SARC was envisioned in 1885, after 10 years, we already talk about the SASEC project. That is, I think there is some kind of pessimism about the SARC going further, something like that, because at the time South Asian growth quadrangle has been envisioned after the 10 years of the SARC, which now we see as the BBN countries. So here I like to give emphasizes on the developing the kind of complementary approach to the regional integrations process. What does that mean is, if Bangladesh, India, definitely if we are talking about the India and Bangladesh connectivity, the cooperations of India is the key. So if we can go with the three countries together, that can ultimately stimulate the overall regional integrations process that what we are talking about. So I think that will be the kind of pragmatic complementarism to the regional integration process. So going together with the countries who do share it, then we have some kind of differences between the while we are talking about the connectivity project with the India, Nepal, and Bangladesh. There is also some kind of difficulties, but I think there are far less difficulties than the overall regional integration process. So I think this is the fundamental questions that we need to understand, need to address. Without addressing the overall geopolitical dimensions, we will not be heading anywhere. Definitely, if I'm not wrong, then I think our keynote speaker has also presented the very intense data and stuff. So from Kathmandu to Mongla port, it is around 850 kilometers plus minus. I think from Kathmandu to Kolkata, we have 900 kilometers plus minus. So in terms of the distance also, we have the kind of comparative advantage. And we're also talking about the utilizing Mongla port as the regional, sub-regional hub kind of things, sub-regional hub port. There is the possibility of that also, because Mongla port can offer the easy and accessible export to the northeastern part of the India and Bhutan, Bangladesh, and Nepal. So there is also the interest of Chittagong. So I think, first of all, what we have to do is Bangladesh and Nepal need to figure out which trade corridor they exactly wanted to exploit. And after that, after having the kind of common consensus between the two countries, we can also take the cooperation from the India, and then we can move forward. I also said, as some of my writing knowledge, that if these trilateral cooperations can be exploited at the optimum level, then that can be also regarded as the true foreign policy, true neighborhood first foreign policy delivery of the India. So we know that the push and pull with the international balance, power balance shifting towards Asia, push and pull going everywhere. So we also need to work very closely in this regard. So having said that, I also again want to re-emphasize a couple of things that I just said. We need to understand the geopolitics. We need to understand the very kind of failure of the SARC and all this regional integration process. So what we can do is we can go by bilateral and trilateral that can ultimately stimulate the regional integration process. I don't mean like it should be the exclusivity, but like it can be the like a supplement kind of thing. So having said that, I think many things have been already said by our distinguished panelists, so I stop here. If there is any questions, I'll try to address. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is Acharya from University as well as Treasurer of Nepal Council of Foreign. Thank you, keynote speaker, for intensive and deliberate speech, which we have often gained a lot of information regarding the Nepal-Bangladesh trade and facilitations. Since everybody is speaking that geopolitics matters a lot, a very big balloon word we are using. What geopolitics really matters in the concrete sense, nobody has spoken till date, between increasing our either trade or relationship or whatever we want to do between bilateral and beyond bilateralism. Nobody has spoken out. Can you tell or specify what is the geopolitics between either India and Nepal or either Nepal and Bangladesh or beyond within the three countries, India, Bangladesh and Nepal? What are the specific constraints that we want to include within the geopolitics? I also asked this question to Shyamji also. We never talked about the concrete problems, what we are heading towards between India and Nepal. Since I belong to the far eastern districts of tea districts of Ilam, Ilam is considered as one of the best agro production districts. That is tea, cardamom, ginger, and so many other things also. But we are facing a problem since more than decades, not single decades, many decades, that the quarantine problem is not solved in Siliguri side of the India, and we are facing, the farmers are facing a very, very unlucky traders, either from Nepali side or Indian side. If the India proposed and make a quarantine in the Siliguri so that we can not send those samples to the Kolkata board or Kolkata accredited laboratory to identify whether it is enriched with the pesticides or it is organic or whatever it may be. Why India is not willing to do that thing? That's why until and unless the India must have to be a positive side, positive thinking and positive thought. Do you think that, Mr. Keynote Speaker, that Nepal and Bangladesh trade promotes or not? Thank you.
You have posed a question to a layman who is not in the least trained in the language of diplomacy. I have before me our topmost diplomat, and her colleagues are also diplomats. I'm not supposed to talk on this, but let me try to be a little undiplomatic. I remember once, not 3-4 years back, I was invited to one of these think tank sort of things in Delhi, in the Lodi Gardens, and then many of you must know this Chatham House rules. The British Chatham House rules means you speak here, you can speak anything. You are not jailed for that, you are not show caused for that, nobody asks for any question, or your promotions are not held up. Anything. That is the Chatham House rules, you can say anything. So if normally in this seminar Chatham House rules apply, if that applies, then we can be, you know it, the questioner who is highly educated and slightly emotional in raising the question, I can say this. If you recall the history of the subcontinent, I have one great historian, my colleague Jalal Ahmed. Last night we were having a lot of intense discussion on this. If you recall the history of the subcontinent from the Middle Ages till now, you know there has been incursions from this side to that side. I'm being a little diplomatic, not exactly naming the countries, you know. There has been incursions in the 8th century from the west. ultimately leading to the spread of one religion. There has been incursion from south to the north, while the Brits were here, north to the south, from east to the west. Nepal, Bhutan, India, nowadays Pakistan, Bangladesh, to a great extent Afghanistan, have been subjected to attacks and invasion and conquest, and also have caused invasion and conquest, all these territories. And there are animosity of other types. The latest and the very modern one being Kashmir. I am again invoking the Chatham House rules. I can speak this. Kashmir, we all know, being what it is standing as a thorn in the flesh of good relations between India and Pakistan. That is why someone raised the question that you raised, or the 10 years after SAARC was formed, we went for SASEC because we thought that Pakistan and India being what they are, you cannot work together. So we thought, okay, let them settle their problems, let India, Bangladesh, Nepal and Bhutan be together to work with this. Sri Lanka is not ruled out. We also take Myanmar and all, despite Rohingya affairs and all those. So this geopolitical situation that is what I called in my extempore speech, is that the historical baggage that we carry, the invasion, as I mentioned, all these invasions, counter-invasion, conquests, counter-conquests, have left some bitter taste to the palate of the people. And the present geopolitical situation is that India is a very large country, one of the largest in the world, and its economy is very big. It is now the 5th largest economy in the world, although there are pockets of extreme poverty there, but this is a big economy, and it is straddling the whole subcontinent. It seems that Nepal, Bhutan and Bangladesh has been scooped up from the original body of India, which it was originally. Although Nepal was not directly conquered by India, nor was Bhutan, but parts of the territory have been taken away, and these were sort of treated as a protectorate. So it is very difficult. None of us, you are all very young people, you do not remember the Jamindari system, nor do I have not seen Jamindars. But think of a Jamindar and one of his riots, one of his praja, going to the Middle East. Nowadays it happens in Sylhet, coming with a lot of money and building a house taller than his lords. That is very difficult to tolerate. So India with its past, India as a whole, it's very difficult. But I must thank the present Indian government, despite the political philosophy, whatever. The present Indian government, well, the past one also, Congress was also coming to that. They are very pragmatic, and they also think that developing just India without Nepal, Bhutan and Bangladesh is impossible. So they also took us on board, and BBI and MBA is a proof of that. So that historical, geopolitical, as you said, or geohistorical things are there, and it will be there for many years. But please also take the lesson. Think of the European history. 100 years war, 30 years war, and then burning at the stakes for being a Catholic or a Protestant or so many things. There has been wars and wars and wars. But now they are European Union, same currency. Brexit is another thing, we can discuss on that issue. So, civilized human beings think of the future, the present, and from the present to the future, not think of going to the past. India has started thinking that way. Bangladesh, Nepal, Bhutan, they all have started thinking. So now is the moment for us. You cannot forget. We do not ask you to forget your history, nor can we forget our history, nor can India forget its history. But keep the history in the basket for the time being, and let us try to catch up with the rest of the world who are developing so fast. We feel very bad when you see on television screen the condition of Singapore, a dusty little island barely 50, 60 years before. Thailand, I from Bangladesh, working in the National Board of Revenue, had gone to Bangkok, and seen that 1 taka used to bring 2 baths. Now it is 3 taka equivalent to 1 bath. So please come out of this mindset of do not forget, but keep it in the basket, keep it in the freezer for some time, and start doing things for the present and the future. The geopolitical situation is there. I understand your the questioner, highly emotional, slightly emotional, highly educated. Yes, Nepal should work better, Bangladesh should work better, India should work better. BBI and MBA is a milestone achievement. India has agreed, please don't worry, you don't understand it better. India has agreed to a transit of Nepal and Bhutan through Bangladesh territories to the seas or to our own country or anywhere else. Think of the past. Think of the British India. How Nepal or Bhutan used to be even in the recent past. So, remembering all those things, yes, there is a geopolitical reality, but we are not forgetting it, nor can we ever forget it, but we are making strides ahead, and let us work along the streets. Let us not bring those past bitter memories to our development drawer. That is my request as a normal citizen, ordinary citizen of this region. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ahmed, for your answer. You rightly said about this mindset. After all, as time goes by, it is absolutely correct. The mindset also no longer remains the same. It is also changing with time. So it all depends how you take the present condition. Now, globalization or economic globalization or economic liberalism, India, as the speaker rightly pointed out, that after the shock, India also emerged with PBI. We have to change with time. So time is the most important thing that makes change everyone. So one has to realize that if his neighbor is weak, it is not going to benefit him. So it is important that the status of the neighbor plays a very important role in updating oneself. So that is why also we should, these sort of things, as the speaker pointed out, that during the British era, mindset was different. Now, in those days, the condition of our country, as he highlighted in the very first slide, the economic growth about 7.28, about 7.5. Though I am not happy with that, because that 7.5 was compared to the previous year, could be. Right? Yes, right. So one has to change oneself to get better treatment from from neighbors. So, and also at the same time, for a country, one should be, very unbiased with any political system. Like our country, as it is sandwiched between the two gigantic nations with different political systems, some kind of, suspicion or mistrust may exist. But as time goes by, you see now in India, who were rival once in 60s, now many Chinese companies are working in China, because also a few years back India's Prime Minister paid a visit to China. They are requesting the People's Republic of China for development of high-speed railways, and Chinese engineers, they are working for the feasibility study in China itself. So when I have been asked many times, India, like Delhi, Chennai, and some of the routes that is very difficult for them to design for high-speed railway lines. If we talk of railway lines in India, if we want to travel by train, one has to book his ticket 1 month or maybe more than 1 month prior to his travel. So now India is in a position, as far as the railway is concerned, that they have no other options left other than going for high-speed trains, because their line capacity are all saturated. They cannot introduce any new rail train systems in between, in the same track. Either they have to increase the number of tracks, dedicated tracks or special tracks, or they have to increase the speed. There is no way out left other than that. So now they are requesting even the Chinese. Now this age of cold, this thing is gone. With the liberalization and globalization, with the advent of technology, computer systems, now the globe has become very small. One can travel the globe within a couple of hours. So that is why one has to think the reality. One cannot remain in isolation. So that is very important these days. One must learn lesson from the past and also the present scenario, because without trade, nothing is possible. Trade is the only thing that can push you on. Otherwise, you cannot develop yourself. Trade also at the same time, as I said, it keeps everything moving, everything going. Think of your agriculturists, farmers. If there is no trade, no one will produce more. To make the economy viable or to maintain the dynamism in economy, trade is important, and at the same time, connectivity. Without connectivity, no trade, no economy. So that is why, as to that question, this geopolitical situation, I think if we remain unbiased, if we don't do any harm to any of our neighbors, I don't think you cannot think in the other way around for your own development. Thank you.
May I add just one small sentence? Politics is Bismarck, the former chancellor of the then, nowadays it's Germany, but previously it was Berlin based, the strongest country in Europe. Bismarck was the world-renowned prime minister, and that is the chancellor of the time, and he was a world-renowned diplomat. Bismarck once said that politics is the art of the possible. So, Bangladesh, Nepal, India, Bhutan, whoever you are doing some politics, it is the art of the possible. And along with this, please remember that you can never change your neighbor. Nepal finds itself in this situation, Bangladesh finds, we are all educated people, we know our difficulties, we know our disadvantages. Let us try to find out the advantages out of these adversities. That is what statecraft is. That is why we didn't opt to go for war, even verbal war with Myanmar, because that would be short-sighted. Maybe we might be winning fast, but then my development is stopped and my future is blocked. So this is one of the, not that I'm praising my country or myself. So I know the anger of the disadvantaged countries, blocked on all sides by other countries, not always friendly, not always considerate. But then what can you do? You have to accept the reality and try to castle the other side to doing whatever you can for your country, for your people. Not slavery, not subjugation, but friendly relations as best as possible. Argue your case and go. This is working in the geopolitical situation that you have. Otherwise, you can start a fight. You can continue to be like India and Pakistan. India is very intelligent. That side is blocked, but she is opening to other sides. But Pakistan is blocked on both sides, with Afghanistan and with India. That is another thing. One can write pages after pages of the Indian. It is because of Pakistan's internal situation. We are not talking about that. Please.
Thank you. I am Dr. Arun Thakur. I am from the SEDA, Trivandrum University. I am Executive Director of the organization. Want to mention one thing, that is, what is the mindset of others? That is not only taken into account. What is our mindset? That is also important. Most important. So that what is the prevailing situation in our Nepal, that might be considered. We all know, India is very much helpful in bringing the democracy in our country. Most of our cadets also become trained in the India during the liberation of our country, from the Rana and from the present kingdom, past kingdom is. That is one thing. Once I have visited in Bangladesh as a think tank from the SEDA, right, last year. There one mindset of the one ambassador of Nepal, sir, we should not have to talk to make treaty with India. What type of mindset is this? All the crises of whatever the flood, like take the example of the flood. India were being suffered from the national crisis due to the flood from our country. Then I think their responsibility also to assist Nepal to control the flood. We are also suffering due to the flood because our whole Tarai region is suffering from that very soil erosion, right, due to the flood, and our whole part of the Tarai is seen as a barren land. Then whose responsibility is this? We always talk about the northern part. That is, we always see from the last few years, we find that we always talk about the China. China has no any matter. They have no any concern because they are not suffering from Nepal situations. So that our mindset also should be made change. That it is important because flood, why the India has to just build a bridge at the border? They wanted to just make a bridge in the Chure range. That will be helpful for Nepal also because we can irrigate the whole Tarai land. All these things we can serve it as just producing the hydro water, the hydroelectricity. Then all these things are to be seen by the politician of our country. Our mindset is also to be made change. Then only it is possible for us just to bring harmony between the two countries. One, your neighbor is facing crisis, and you are talking that we have no any matter, we are not suffering from that. Then that type of mindset is, I think it is to be changed by us, and it is important. Then only the geopolitics will not exist in that very part, so that we are living in the global village. Just told by the key speaker. Then I think that we have also responsibility to think globally, and never cannot be changed. We know it, but our mindset is also to be changed and treat as a good neighbor or elder brother, whatever. I don't know elder brother or a small brother, but we are the brother. Brotherhood is to be just developed. That no geopolitics is will be hampered just to strengthen Nepal for the economic development of the Nepal. Thank you for this.
I am Harun A. Rashid, country manager from Group Companies. I have a small question. Actually, we are facing some. Sorry?
Question to whom?
Question.
Question to whom?
Question to our Bangladesh side, also Nepal. Actually, we are facing some problem. We are exporting our goods in Nepal. My question is, if we want to invest in Nepal and if we want to set one industry in Nepal, how we can invest there? Our Bangladesh Rashtra Bank or government recognize us for this. Number one. Number two, 2 years, 3 years before I know, from Rohanpur, railway started from Bangladesh to Nepal, but still now we have not got any benefit from this. So how we can get benefit from this? Can you help us regarding this? We have one small border. We can use one small border, Kakurbita. Its capacity is very small. Day by day, our export-import business increasing, but border's capacity is very small. We cannot dispatch our goods in time. So, regarding this, can you help us? Can we get proper border or proper help from you? Thank you.
I used to speak seminars and symposiums since many years, and I often used to say that you are confusing one P for the other. You are asking the P, means the peon, the question that is meant for the Prime Minister. So what you have said in one word, the answer is very simple. When your son or daughter grows up, her or his clothes become shorter, you have to change it. So your trade is growing, so you need to widen your roads, you need to have build your new railroads, you want to make better infrastructure. That is what we are saying. It is a good sign that you are having these problems and you are asking us questions. Please think of a few years before. I am told that Pran Group has a factory in Nepal. Is it so? Could you imagine having it? When I met General Amjad, I was then a junior officer, he just retired and he started his business. Could he imagine that there would be a factory here in Nepal, not to talk of the northeastern side of India? This is a huge socio-political, geopolitical development. But the problems that you're having is infrastructural problem. That is exactly what we are trying to highlight. The way you are saying that would bring the government to the reality that they need to modernize. Bangladesh, with its limited resources, have been trying very hard, to cope up with this increasing demand of infrastructural development. Please give the government some time. I'm not the government. Let us all give the government some time. They are trying very hard. This will grow. But in English, there is a saying that teething problems. We all have gone through their childhood. When you first grow your teeth, it pains. These are the pains we are having of growing teeth. And then you will be an adult very soon. We will have better infrastructure. And Pran will have billions of dollars of sales all over the world, including in Nepal and India and elsewhere. Give the government some time. That is the problem with India also, with Nepal also. These are good signs. We are growing up. Let us grow up and suffer this so that we improve ourselves. Could I answer your question, sir? Thank you. You have to have patience.
Okay, thank you, distinguished speakers, for your insightful presentations. And now I would like to request Her Excellency Ms. Masli Binti Sands, the Ambassador of Bangladesh to Nepal, to deliver the closing remarks for the event. Thank you.
Honorable Advisor, Mr. Iqbal Subhan Chaudhary, distinguished guests, my very respected senior colleagues, Jalal sir and Ali Ahmed sir, distinguished guests, excellencies, participants, panelists, everybody else who has come. I would like to begin by saying how happy I am to be, or to have been successfully organized the second Nepal-Bangladesh Business Forum. When we organized the first business forum 2 years ago, we had initially we talked about about 5 subjects. We discussed about cooperation in tourism, energy cooperation, agriculture, connectivity, business promotion, and also cultural tourism development. At that time, we were just trying to identify areas of cooperation between Nepal and Bangladesh. Because at that time we felt that we were not even aware of the various sectors that we could cooperate in. This time we decided, Sunil and I, that we need to focus on specific areas to address specific issues. Many times, many exporters and importers come to us with specific complaints about the state of connectivity, infrastructure at the land ports, banking issues, I mean very nitty-gritty details of trade. Why are they coming to us? They're coming to us because there is an increased interest between the Bangladeshi and Nepalese entrepreneurs to have trade between the two countries. The trade is increasing, business and commerce is increasing, there is increasing interest. It is still very low, far below the potential, but at least people are beginning to take interest in Bangladeshi and Nepalese business people are beginning to take interest in each other's markets and the possibilities. And that's why all these issues are coming up. 2 years ago, none of these issues were there because they were not even, there was no exchange between the business communities. I would like to say that this is a very positive development, and I hope that through forums, business forums like this, we'll be able to engage in more such discussions, and it will help us, it will strengthen us in addressing the issues and take this to the policymakers, and we will be able to resolve them eventually. I would like to express my deep appreciation to everybody, particularly our advisor, honorable advisor, for patiently listening to us all afternoon, coming from Bangladesh to inaugurate our trade fair, and also today's program, and all the participants who have they have discussed the issues, all the issues that were in our agenda in such detail and in such a nice way, so that we can all understand what the issues are. And last but not the least, I would like to express my deep appreciation to AIDIA. They have been partnering with us in organizing seminars and conferences, bilateral and trilateral, so that we can identify areas of cooperation and find out where are the bottlenecks, so that both our countries can benefit mutually. So thank you all very much. It is indeed a great pleasure on my part to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Her Excellency Ambassador. Now I would like to request Chief Guest or His Excellency Mr. Iqbal Subhan Chaudhary, Media Advisor to the Honorable Prime Minister of Bangladesh, to present token of love to our distinguished speakers. I would like to request His Excellency to present token of love to Chair of the session, Mr. Ananta Acharya, Director General of Department of Railways, and to Mr. Ali Ahmed, CEO of Bangladesh Foreign Trade Institute, and also to Mr. Shyam, Research and Development Director of AIDIA. Now I would like to request Mr. Sunil Kesi to be on the stage for token of love distribution. So I would like to request Mr. Sunil Kesi, CEO of AIDIA, to present token of love to Chief Guest, His Excellency Mr. Iqbal Sobun Chaudhary, Media Advisor to the Honorable Prime Minister of Bangladesh. And to Her Excellency Miss Masfi Binte Sams, Ambassador of Bangladesh to Nepal.